This screencast is going to pick up with the presidency of John Adams. John Adams is elected as the second U.S. president, and he was a Federalist. One of the first events that happens under Adams' presidency is the XYZ Affair. If you kind of recall that England had been attacking American ships bound for France, and now through Jay's Treaty we've allowed it to happen. Well, France had done the same thing with American ships headed to England. They basically just start to seize U.S. ships and steal the goods headed to England. So Adams wants to squash this issue with France, so he sends American diplomats to meet with the French government and to basically settle a peace agreement so that France would stop attacking our ships. The American diplomats are met by 3 French officials who only called themselves X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z. So they're basically trying to remain anonymous. They're not giving up their names. And they basically try to bribe the American diplomats. They basically want money from America in exchange for them stopping the attack on our ships. Now, we, as an American public, find it very offensive that the French government would try to bribe America. We are their former ally, after all. So Americans actually call for war against France because they are so outraged. Now, we will not go to an official war with France. We do have what is called a quasi-war. Quasi-war would mean like an almost but not official war. That's spelled on your screen, by the way. But eventually, this will subside, and a peace agreement will eventually be reached long-term with France. But for a while, we did attack each other's ships. The second event that occurs, that we're going to talk about anyway, under Adams' presidency, actually makes him wildly unpopular. It is the Alien and Sedition Acts, 2 laws that are passed under his presidency. The Alien Act allowed the president to deport anyone he deemed dangerous. So any foreigner that he deemed dangerous, it had to be someone who was foreigner, not from America, but anyone he wanted he could pick and deport them, which just gave him a lot of power as president, power that wasn't really listed in the Constitution. The Sedition Act actually prohibited the speech or publication of anything that attacked or criticized the American government. So nothing that went against the president or Congress could be published or spoken publicly. This is a clear and complete violation of the First Amendment, which protects against free speech and protects the freedom of the press. And so these acts are unconstitutional, and they cause a lot of conflict, but the problem is that we don't yet have a decision on who gets to determine whether or not laws are constitutional or not. So basically, at this point, even though we have the Supreme Court, we're going to talk about it in class tomorrow, how in today's standards, we know the Supreme Court is the governing body that gets to rule out laws that are deemed unconstitutional, but in the early 1800s, late 1700s, no one knows who gets that power. So what's going to happen in the next bullet is that the states are going to think that they have the powers. Specifically, the states of Kentucky and Virginia. Kentucky and Virginia, by the way, Kentucky's now a state. Yes, we haven't gone over all the different states becoming states, but all those kind of states that were west of the Appalachian Mountains that once couldn't be settled, those territories, they're now being kind of enacted as states. Anyway, Kentucky and Virginia both declare that the Alien and Sedition Acts are unconstitutional, and they are choosing to void them in their states. We will talk in class tomorrow about who actually has the power to void laws that are unconstitutional, okay? But the states claim it's them, so they decide we're not going to practice those 2 laws in our state. We're going to allow the criticism of the government. We're going to, allow foreigners to exist in our state. We're not going to allow the president to just deport whoever he wants. And we'll see that kind of issue between state power and national power develop throughout these next couple of chapters that we cover in class. Write down this and any questions you may have, and we will continue the notes tomorrow. I hope you all have a good day.